Hello, party people. Yes, I am in fact quite shiny compared to what you saw last. So tonight, and I am recording this extremely late in the week. I meant to have this done for Monday, but between various obligations and honestly illness, it took till now. And it's kind of appropriate that I'm doing it tonight, as normally tonight is when I would be reading a chapter or three from a James Bond novel. Obviously, this week I won't be because I have a very early obligation tomorrow, and probably should have been in bed already. So I'll get this recorded and posted, and then I'm going my ass to bed. In any case, tonight we're reviewing the Casino Royale movie from 2006. It's been a while since I saw it, and had not seen it since before I read the book. Having read the book and now rewatched the film, I continue to disagree with Razorfist's assertion that Daniel Craig was not a good choice for Bond. That said, throughout watching this film, I was aware not just of the way that Bond was characterized in the book, which, by the way, I recommend highly to everybody that you read the book. At the end, I will provide a link to my video series of live reads of Casino Royale, or at least the first video, so you can decide for yourself if you want to continue listening, I suppose. The disagreement that I have with Razor is that I actually do think Craig was a good choice for this Bond, for the introduction Bond. Now, that said, some of the writing, some of the adaptation choices, some of the directing, even some of the actor's choices himself, not really. Now, I will point out, to his credit, Daniel Craig did read all the James Bond novels before he took the part, or before he started acting, at least. I'm not 100% sure the writers did, or the director. I have more of a suspicion that the writers and director probably watched the movies, and maybe had some notes from the first book. But I have to say, I don't want to call this a faithful adaptation. There's quite a lot that is not just poorly adapted, but in some cases almost turned into parody. And I know I've said that before about James Gunn's Superman, so I do apologize, but it just seems to be the luck of the draw with these two. We'll talk about what I'm doing next week once I'm done here. Speaking of, I better make a note to remind myself. And of course I have to make that note twice because I'm an idiot. Okay, so as you can see from the and I will be doing something slightly different today, or this time. Normally what I would do is I would read the trivia on the IMDb website and then discuss points that came up in it. This time we're going to do things a little bit differently. This time what we're going to do is actually... didn't mean to open that one. There we go. What we're going to do this time is we're going to review the trivia after I've talked about the film and given you my rank and recommendation. So, as you can see from the thumbnail, this is pulled from one of the promotional posters. It's meant to be a darker and grittier Bond. Darker? Darker than the movies, sure. Grittier, in the same way that sand gets everywhere and I hate sand, sure. To borrow a line from a different franchise. But we'll move on. So, the first image we have, and one of the first things that actually really caught my eye, was the black and white. The entirety of the opening scene is in black and white, and it really gives it a very interesting aesthetic, a very interesting feel. And I believe, I'm not 100% sure, but I believe On Her Majesty's Secret Service was originally released in black and white. I don't know that it was filmed in black and white, but I think this might be an homage to the older movie making. And I did say that I did love the callback aesthetics of the opening. Uh, I do love the fact that things are not effortless for Bond. He is clearly having to work like a man would if this was the real world. So, in some instances, the realism works. In others, it's really, really out of place. Uh, let's see, what did I say here? The grittier, rougher rookie Bond is closer to the Casino Royale novel. And Craig did read all of them. I did note that there. But even then, Bond was no rookie. Yeah, that's one of the issues, and I think that's director-writer issue more than it is Craig. Uh, for whatever reason, I assume because they were rebooting the series and they wanted to pretend that this was Bond's first case, which it really wasn't. There's an entire explanatory point earlier on about how he's not a double O, and then he's given his double O. The double O thing wasn't even really a big issue in Casino Royale. I don't think the number 007 even came up that I recall. Now, I could be wrong because it has been some time since I read the initial part of that book. But more than anything else, Bond isn't a rookie. And even in the Casino Royale novel, he is not a rookie. He's extremely seasoned by this point. They talk about other cases he has worked. So, I understand where you were coming from, but I don't really appreciate it. I think you made a misstep there. And this is part of why I now understand. This is definitely going a distance to helping me understand why there was a lot of fan backlash. Not so much critical that I recall, but then again, critics and genre generally don't mix anyway. Again, do love the callback aesthetic. The note I put for this one is honoring the source material and other adaptations is a good sign. It is. Didn't live up to it, shamefully. I do have to say here, Chris Cornell's vocals are surprisingly suitable for a Bond film. That said, I understand you want to be something of a departure to kind of put your own stamp on the Bond mythos. I get that. But this was a misstep. Chris Cornell, amazing vocalist. I absolutely loved everything he did. This, not so much. And it's really just a matter of not really suited to the material, especially if you're trying to honor the previous stuff. Chris Cornell's vocals suit Bond very well, though I think I'd have preferred a female. Another sign of the departure from the previous stuff. My personal pick would have been, at the time, this was 06, my pick would have been to get Amy Lee of Evanescence. Her vocals would have absolutely suited the darker tone that you were going for. Let's see. Oh, the next thing we have is the first look at Le Chiffre. I'm sorry. Mads is such a good villain. And he's so unfortunately underused in so many places. But he is great in this film. If you want to watch a film for the villain, this is one of them. And so is Doctor Strange. Sorry. If you're watching for what's his name? Benjamin Bandersnatch? No, that's not right. Anyway, if you're watching for the star, yeah, you're not going to enjoy Mads. I mean, Mads is, the man oozes intensity. There's a term that the younger kids use, aura. Yeah. Oh, yeah. One of the trivia notes that it will come up, but I'll mention it here. Le Chiffre supposedly was based by Fleming on Aleister Crowley. The only thing I can think is that Fleming must have hated Aleister Crowley because of the way that Lashif goes out in the book and in this film, which ironically are about the same. One of the few things where the movie does not depart too far from the book. This I didn't understand. This is during the opening parkour chase scene, which was really beautiful and really well choreographed, but dear fuck, way too long and completely out of place in a Bond film. I get, oh, but it's grittier and it's more realistic. No, it's not. It's fucking parkour. Nobody does parkour when they're running from a spy. I did say many elements of this film are inventions not found in the book. Yeah, this entire chase scene had nothing to do with the book. Some make no sense. Yeah, this fellow on screen is actually a construction worker who is attacking the guy that Bond is chasing. I don't know why. It makes no sense. He's up on high steel, and this backpack-wearing fellow of the same race is running towards him, but clearly not attacking him. And all of a sudden, this guy just starts swinging. I'm not even sure what he's swinging at him. It's so fast in the film, it's hard to tell. But he just starts swinging out of nowhere, and it makes no sense at all. What else have we got here? The next thing, the only note I said for this frame was, this is how you build a badass. Yeah, the guy that Bond is chasing empties his pistol and then throws it at him, and Bond doesn't even flinch, just reaches up and kind of pulls it out of the air. That's badass, gotta admit. And I mean, rule of cool, right? I will give the director this. He and the cinematographer, they do understand the rule of cool. And Bond should be nothing if not cool. Let's see. This one. This is part of the parkour chase. And this one, which is Bond essentially body rolling or combat rolling out the window and then off of this awning onto the back of this guy who he was chasing. If you're going to invent, you fucking well better innovate. And this was actually pretty good. And well shot. I will give it that. Of course, now Bond has the guy under control, puts a gun to the back of his head. I did say here, not exactly elegant, is he? Not the polished Bond we've all come to expect. Also, if you guys are noticing that there's something new in the background, I'm in the middle of putting together a new stand, I guess we'll call it, display stand, book stand. I'm going to put a bunch of stuff on there anyway. I remember when product placement was fucking subtle. Now, to be fair, I kind of understand why this was done. Before this film, Sony owned the rights to the at least part of the Bond franchise, I believe possibly to the franchise itself. And in order to get the rights, there were deals made. And I'm gonna guess that putting the Vio laptop everywhere in the film, I don't think there's a single piece of electronics that isn't Sony-based in this movie, was probably part of that deal. But, let's see, what have we got here for this one? Oh, yeah, I do so love listening and watching Dame Judi Dench swear. It's so entertaining. Yeah. And another very intense character. She does a great job as M, as far as I'm concerned. This, I just put, what the fuck? What the actual fuck? Why on earth is Bond driving an economic Ford? Yeah. The next one is the accidental Andress. This was not, in fact, intentional. There was no intent to do a callback to Ursula Andress, regardless of how it was presented once it was shown in theaters, once it was shown in trailers. There was no intention of this at all. Bond was simply supposed to float by, making eye contact with another character. Unfortunately, there was a sandbar, so he had to stand up. Yeah, so this was never intentional. At all. Not one bit. But they wanted to let you think it was. That's actually a really bad thing for a film to do. Oh, yeah. Now, speaking of good things films can do, uh, I had to refresh my memory on her name. Katerina Marino, who I amazingly mistook for Penelope Cruz for some reason. But Katerina Marino is certainly wearing the hell out of that dress, isn't she? That's a good thing for Bond. Uh, I was disappointed about something about this. Oh, yes. I was extremely disappointed that all the card games in this, rather than ever once being Baccarat, was Texas Hold'em. I get it. Texas Hold'em is insanely popular at the time. Probably continues to be. But really? In Montenegro? Texas Hold'em? Are you sure? I mean, I get Departure. I really do. I get Update. I really do. But Hold'em? Really? Took his money, took his car, took his woman. Yeah, yeah. Bond is a bit of a bastard. Yep. Oh, the next thing is this. The Body Worlds thing. They shot a scene or two here. Um, this is one of the most disgusting things in the universe. I'm very sorry if any of you have ever gone to one of these exhibits and paid money. You should be aware there are some severe ethical concerns about whether or not these bodies were actually donated. And even when they were donated, whether they were knowingly donated for this purpose. That's severe ick factor in my thinking. That said, it does. There are some good scenes. Like this is, it's. There's a lot of tell don't show in this film. This isn't one of those scenes. When you're watching this scene where Bond is tailing this guy, now this fellow in the center of the picture, this guy here, he was the guy who was at the Body Worlds exhibit that Bond had followed there. Now, as Bond is tailing him through this mall, or actually I think this might be an airport, I'm not 100% sure, so I do apologize. But as Bond is tailing him, he clearly begins to have a sense that someone is following him, and then he walks up to a sunglass purchasing stand. And anybody who's watched a single spy movie immediately should have been tagged over, oh, he's checking for tails. And yeah, he successfully spots Bond, and the chase is on. It's actually really good, really subtle spycraft here. One of the few highlights of the movie, in my opinion. Let's see. Probably be a... Oh, hang on. Yeah, it'd probably be a good idea to have a stuntman with the same color hair doing these stunts. When you watch the film, you'll see that this guy's hair is noticeably lighter than Bond's, and different texture. Let's see, what else have we got here? Sorry, I've got a bit of a sniffle. There we go. Yeah, it'd probably be a good idea to have a stuntman whose hair wasn't noticeably different. Smirky Bond is a bit of a dick. Yeah, this is right after Bond has caused the guy he was chasing to blow himself up. I mean, I get being smirky and happy about it, but kind of makes your character look a little more psychopath than cold. Not really a great look in my opinion. Oh yeah, this is where I made the note about my disagreement with Razor Fist. I agree that this film is not a particularly faithful adaptation, and is not. The lack of depth of Lashif's motivation is an unfortunate omission. At this point, they really hadn't talked too much about Lashif's motivations. Certainly not as much as Fleming did in the book. Yeah, and moving the story to Montenegro, in my opinion, was a strange choice. Yeah, yeah. I mean, the original book, if I recall correctly, is set in France and at a town called Royale, where there's a casino called Casino Royale. Yeah. But several places that are in the book are, at the very least, nodded to in this. The Hotel Splendide, a few other things. Yeah, I did say moving to Montenegro is a strange choice as well, as is the extremely high body count. Um, yes, I know the later Bond films, Brosnan, for example, for sure. Even Roger Moore's had very, very high body counts. This, it's a death that didn't happen in the book, and introducing it here doesn't really make your character seem any more evil. You've got Mads fucking Mikkelsen acting. Trust me, he looks evil enough. God bless him, he's so good at it. What is this one? Oh, yes. Ava Green. Oh, man. I get it. I understand the Ava Green thing now. But Ava Green sits down and says, "I'm the money." To which Bond responds, "Every penny." Okay. It's a cute inside reference. I'm sorry, my eye is twitching. But I don't... yeah, it's a bit of a nod to Miss Moneypenny, but also creates an incorrect expectation in a Bond familiar viewer. Yeah, anybody who's familiar with the Bond mythos, especially the films, James and Moneypenny never, ever acted towards each other the way these two do, nor did they ever, well, we'll get to it. But, yeah, Moneypenny and Bond never got together. These two do. This is Vesper Lynd. If you've read the book, or seen this movie, you know who Vesper Lynd is. Yeah. But yeah, Bond and Moneypenny never got together, no matter how much sexual tension there was between them. And I remember the Moore and Connery movies, and yeah, that was... Ironically, they taught me how to flirt with women by not really trying all that hard. And Vesper being... the two of them pop psychoanalyzing each other is kind of reminiscent of Deadpool, which I understand is a far later movie, but massive departure from the source material. Yeah, she's incredibly snarky towards him. Their instant reaction to each other is intensely hostile. And yeah, I have an issue with that too, because Bond being verbally neutered and being kind of happy about it, that's not Bond. That's demasculizing. That's injecting Bond with a bit of soy. Yeah, and I did say here that Razor Fist wasn't 100% wrong, though I think it's more a Campbell issue, again, possibly Purvis, Wade, Haggis, the writers, and the director. This one, it's not Bond. Like, I understand you guys are going for darker, grittier, more realistic, more up-to-date. There's your problem. You tried to make it more modern by making Bond a bit of a cuck. Bad choice. Let's see. Oh, the name is Dump. Exposition Dump. Because, oh my god, the exposition here. And this scene is the Hotel Splendide. Not really. But, obviously, because it's not in the Caribbean. But... this scene... Sorry, I just realized I was covering my mouth. This scene... It's not good. It's just a monstrous exposition dump. And you could have split it out so much better. You could have had M provide a little. You could have had a little from one of the other MI6 operatives. You could have had a little from her, by all means. But, I mean... there's a lot here where they just kind of lead the audience to things, and spoon-fed is one of the words that came to mind. Though I did put fuck yeah at the next one, so let's see what this is. Yes, fuck yeah. Yeah. Fuck, that's a nice car. No, I don't. Settle down. Damn, that's a nice car. Want one. I do not want one of these. If I'm driving and I have a heart attack, I'd rather die. Especially if I'm driving an Aston. Yeah. Okay, what's the note I put here? Oh yeah, Chekhov's defibrillator. Why is it there? It's there because it ends up being needed later. So you put it here and then wrote a reason for it later. Or did you write something happening later and realize, shit, we need to do something about that, and then go back? It's still a little bit of a why the fuck did you bother kind of moment. Yeah. Giancarlo Giannini, I absolutely loved every moment he was in this film. Even some of the, well, later ones when he's it's a bit questionable about his motives. Uh, but yeah, he is charming as fuck. Let me see here. I do like the way Mathis was presented by Giancarlo Giannini. Yeah, yeah. The fact that it's not necessarily a bad thing that they moved it to from France to Montenegro. It explains them why you would have an Italian around. Sure, okay. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Here we are. Rookie Bond shouldn't look completely comfortable in a tuxedo, but any man should be standing straighter if you're wearing one that looks that good. Sorry, you when you look really good, guys will stand up taller. So, yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. This game being Hold'em is even more disappointing than the earlier one. Yeah. This one, it's hard to get past this. The fact that this is Texas Hold'em and not Baccarat or even some other game. You know, I get that you wanted to build tension and you wanted it to be kind of cool, but really, Texas Hold'em? But it's an artifact of the time in which the film was made. So in one aspect, it's kind of a historical study. So, you know, take the good with the bad. What did I say here? Oh, yeah. The focus on a more gritty action Bond. Oh, hang on. No. Oh. Okay, I guess I didn't actually save the image that was meant to go with this note. The focus on a more gritty action Bond was a poor choice. It takes this movie out of the spy genre and puts it into a mediocre Die Hard ripoff. And there are elements of that. Now, this scene, there's 3 images for this. Yeah. Oops, too far. No, okay, 4, sorry. So this image, a dry martini, and then he says to the waiter, no, wait, come back, or the bartender. What did he call him? Was it the barman? I'm not 100% sure. But in any case, he calls him over, he says he wants a dry martini, then he says, wait, and he creates this random recipe on the spot. 3 measures Gordon's, 1 of vodka, half of cannellette, shake it over ice, and add a thin slice of lemon peel. And the guy says, yes, sir. And, yeah, it's book accurate, because he does actually create that in the book. Kind of, there are the things they choose to use as a nod to previous adaptations and to the novel source material. Sometimes it's a strange choice. So, yeah. Oh, yeah. Autistic poker artist Bond is autistic and very boring. The odds against were 23 to 1, and he'd know that. Could you explain it to the audience even more? Okay. Yeah, this fella says, it's time for a short break. We will resume play in 1 hour. And I said, yeah, I know how he feels. This is taking forever, even compared to my live reads. Had they stuck closer to the source material, the film would be about half as long and probably 2 times better. In that case, I absolutely do agree with Razor Fist. Also, I will say, fancy machete is fancy, but still a fucking machete. Actually, all I said here was, nice machete. The next one I said, machete beats gun. Seriously. Bond is supposed to be a trained, one would hope, a trained gunfighter. Well, if you're fighting close quarters with a gun, you don't generally swing it way out like this. You keep it in close. I don't know fuck all about guns, and I know that. Let's see. This was, in fact, better than the Civil War stairwell fight. And I will stand on that hill. While it rains, in wet copper armor, during a thunderstorm, screaming all the gods are bastards. Yes, that is a nod to Terry Pratchett, for those of you who know. But yeah, I did thoroughly enjoy this this scene. Not for the least reason because Eva Green in a tight dress. What did I say here? Ah, yes. Why does more realistic end up making him look more like an 80s action hero at the end of their film? In the middle of his. All beat up. Yeah. Oh, yeah. Or her, a traumatized victim. Yeah, and this is not Vesper from the book at all, which is true. Though in the book, Vesper wasn't a treasury agent. She was an actual spy. So, yeah, Vesper was actually the rookie in the book, more or less. Or at least less experienced than Bond, significantly from the seeming of it. And yeah, I did say this isn't even really a particularly visually interesting shot. It's not even particularly character. Well, it is character building, but it's not Bond building. This is soy Bond. Yeah. Oh, there is a point in the trivia where I want to talk about this effect of his bleeding eye. The bleeding eye effect is impressive, and it's more in the trivia section, so we'll skip to the next one. Yeah, I did say here. Oh, thanks for walking us through that, Captain Obvious. And yeah, this is again the film leading you by the nose. Unfortunately, it leads you by the nose to a incorrect assumption, which isn't good movie making. It's not good storytelling. Yeah, this is not how you do subversion of expectations. This is how you do hacky writing. Yeah, I didn't appreciate this at all. I mean, you're complete. Now, I will point this out. Earlier on, we watched a very subtle, obvious play of wits between the guy from the Body Worlds exhibit and Bond, where the guy checked for a tail. Nobody told us he was checking for a tail. If you're watching, paying attention, you see, oh, he went to a mirror. Oh, he's looking in the mirror. Good move, dude. And you give the audience a little bit of a, oh, hey, we're kind of smart too. And then you do shit like this, where you basically just rug pull for no good reason. Yeah. Let's see. Oh, yeah. This one. Yeah, there's a departure, and then there's, subversion or derision, actually, is what I put down. I get that Bond is supposed to be a rookie, but this makes him look like Vesper's jab about his ego was 100% right. Yeah, it's I don't know if this was Craig's mistake, if this was the director or the writers. It's no. No, you're supposed to be building tension, not make Bond look like a dickhead. Yeah. And, Chekhov's... Sorry. Seems I got a little bit of lint on me. Chekhov's defibrillator comes in handy at this point. But, of course, it has to be Vesper that saves him because he fails. And, yeah, I screwed up and didn't get the any shots of that. I will say, though, I did give points for the comedy here. It was actually fairly well delivered, well placed. I did have to say here, though, Mads' intensity is excellent for a villain. The soundtrack, yeah, there's a bit of a sting to the soundtrack here. And, I mean, it's just, this is, if the shot of Bond saying, I don't give a damn if the drink is shaken or stirred, if that's a break of tone, this puts it right back into that tension. Yeah. Even this is something of a departure from for the sake of making a bog standard action film. Yeah, the chase scene, everything like that. Apparently, this was a world record stunt. Required an air cannon behind the driver's seat, so somewhere in here. No, wait, sorry. It's a British make, so it'd be on the other side. But in any case, the car apparently rolls over 7 full times. Uh, I I hope whoever was the stuntman on this got A, really well paid, and B, not too badly beaten up. Because, oof. And we will talk about that a little more in the trivia. Uh, this, okay. I have a note here too. The whole Mathis was the traitor thing. It, it's a switch of the novel's ending with Vesper. Though, yeah, it's again a bit of a setting up for a rug pull that didn't need to be pulled. I would have been happier if I could have gone through this entire movie loving Giancarlo Giannini's Mathis. Unfortunately, the writers or the director were not, and that's unfortunate. Let's see. This is straight out of the novel. And when I saw this, again, it had been some time since I'd seen this film. When I saw this, I was like, ooh. If you've read the novel or seen this film, it's bad. It's very bad. And it gets worse because, in this film, he's using a knotted rope. And yes, that is naked Daniel Craig. Or at least as naked as he's willing to be. Can't really say if there's anything else. But he is kind of hanging down through that chair, you'll notice. Mind you, nothing else is hanging that we can see. But this heavily knotted rope, that's not what it was in the novel. And even this is not what it was in the novel. Sorry if I just blasted your eyes, but I had to use a white background for this so you could see it. But this is actually what a trefoil carpet beater looks like, which is what was used in the novel. Though this one is a little bit incorrect as well, because the way it's described in the novel is that it's more triangularly shaped, so it has points. Ouch. But, yeah. Smersh. Yeah, these guys are supposed to be faceless. And I'm going to assume it was Smersh in this, but it may have been Spectre. I'm not 100% sure because there's more departure from the novel here. One thing that doesn't happen in the novel, you don't get to see this guy's face. I think this could have been handled a little differently. Just a slightly different editing would have done the job. Cropping, even just at this point, would have been fine. It's again, it's a step away. Let's see. Oh God, yeah. Even without trying, Eva Green is evil sexy. She's trying to not look evil here. Sorry, Eva. I mean, I don't know, it's that combination of features. Gorgeous woman, don't get me wrong, but damn, she looks evil. Which, actually, to be fair, as with Mads, probably means they're actually really, really nice people in person. Saccharin. Yeah, he used her name for the combination for the money. Ugh. Gag me. Please gag me some more. Because there's more goo. Which is exactly the 2 words I put down on my note. More... Ooh, hang on. Can you see it? There you go. More goo. What's on top of that? Oh, 10 carat. That's something else. Don't pay attention to that. Yeah. Now, at this point, they are returning to the novel. The problem is, the last couple of shots, where they were being very gooey and saccharine with each other, that's not out of the novel. Because in the novel, Bond is a lot more cynical about relationships. And he's definitely not being cynical there. He's completely all in 100%, ready to give everything up. And yeah, that's not the Bond from the novel. This fella's pretty much straight out of the novel, though. The setting is not. Returning to the novel at this point without the relationship decay subplot is curious. Yep. Let's see here. And Vesper turns out to be false after all, but Bond is deeply. No, sorry, that's not right. Duped differently. Yeah, it's a shame. Yeah, ugh. I don't know why they changed the way that this worked out in the film from the novel. Uh, I guess they figured it would be more visually appealing, but not really. I've got to turn that light down, sorry. That's up. There we go. It's been a long day. Let's see. Oh, yeah, another action prioritized departure. The sinking palazzo was a very ambitious stunt, and we will talk about that in the trivia as well, because this apparently took weeks to film, all the interior and the exterior, and it's I don't know if they didn't sink an actual palazzo, to be honest. So I'm not sure about that. So yeah, uh, yeah, it's bad enough if you don't know how guns work. It's even worse if you don't know how nail guns work. Um, it's rapid firing with no compressor hooked up to it, and nothing done to the safety. Yeah, I'm a cabinet maker, which means I use those tools, and that is completely bullshit. First off, a nail gun cannot rapid fire because generally they're made in such a way that they have safeties. So you can lift them, pull the trigger. Doesn't matter. You have to have it pressed against something generally. Unless you've tampered with the safety, of course. And even then, they don't rapid fire when they're not hooked up to anything. You'll be lucky to get one shot when it's disconnected from the compressor. Yeah, that that irked me. The fact that the guy was accurate with it was even worse. um, I mean, if you're gonna fuck around and pretend that nail guns can do shit like that, you might as well pretend they can do shit like this. Shoots him in the head and kills him. Yeah, 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 yeah. No, pretty sure the guy probably should have emptied that magazine at Bond, but hey, whatever. Oh, dear God. Let's see, where are we here? 60? 60. Vesper betraying him and then killing herself in front of him, and he's still being hung up about it. Yeah, he was ready to kill her himself. Excuse me. A couple of shots back when they were in the construction area and she was being dragged. Um, there was a point where the bad guy here turned around, put a knife to her throat, and said, "I will kill her." And Bond had said, "I'll do it. Oh, let me," or something along those lines. And then there's this. Also, by the way, a great way to cop a feel there, Daniel. Don't think we missed that. Yeah. Let me see. Let me see here. Shitty way to set up a new series. Oh, no, wrong one. Sorry. Shitty way to set up a new series. No, we'll never know who was behind this. Yeah, see, when the assassin showed up to kill the chief earlier on, when that happens in the novel, the guy uses the word Smersh. And they've talked about Smersh. I know it's probably Spectre, because Smersh just sounds funny. Apparently, that was some Soviet intelligence thing. Now, that may have been a completely fictional creation for Ian Fleming to use. I don't know. But Smersh, yeah. Yeah, it was mentioned in that scene in the novel. Uh, also, if the movie had been more accurate, Bond would have a scar here that basically read something along the lines of Smersh. But no, now they'll never know who was behind it. And unless of course you do a text message ex machina. Yeah. What have we got on this one? Oh yeah. I did say I do like Sneaky Sniper Bond. Blows the guy's leg out while he's talking to him on the phone. Yeah. And what did I say here? I will say that ending on the icon line, Bond, James Bond, is definitely working when he is channeling. Yeah. In this scene, I said that Craig was definitely channeling more Anne Connery, more than he was really trying to play the character from the books. He was definitely movie Bond here. And it worked. Uh, yeah. Let me see here. So we'll come to the trivia here and scroll a bit. The way Bond orders his first martini is lifted directly from the Fleming novels. Can I get dark mode on this? I don't think so. No. Give me just a second here. Never thought to bother with it because I've never done this before. Settings. Well, you guys don't need to see that. So we will just throw that vid cover back up for just a second. Let's see. Appearance. Oh, dark. Dark. Okay, so no choice there. We're going to have to just suffer through that, I guess. Let me see. Where are we? Here. Okay. So, I do apologize for your eyes. Let me see here. Yeah. Okay, so Daniel Craig initially rejected the part of James Bond as he felt that the series had settled into a standard formula. It had. The new director decided to change his mind. Dalton had turned down For Your Eyes Only for the same reason and ended up playing a different, more grounded interpretation of Bond in The Living Daylights and License to Kill. I don't remember License to Kill very well. I remember Living Daylights because I remember loving that cello player and the cello. It was actually the film that made me really pay attention to cello. You put a hot chick behind a cello, I'm going to pay attention. What are you going to do? In the shower scene, Vesper was originally scripted to be wearing nothing but her underwear. Craig argued that Vesper would not have stopped to take her clothes off, and the scene was changed. Makes me wonder how much of the soy that was injected into Bond in this movie was injected by Craig. Move over just a little bit, so I'm still on screen. Craig, for the role, Craig read all of Fleming's novels and talked with Mossad and British Secret Service agents who had served as advisors on Munich. Andreas Daniel, who plays the card dealer, got the role by chance. I do love this story. This is one of those things where it's like right place, right time, right response. While the production company was looking for a card dealer, they called the casino he was working in. Coincidentally, Daniel was on the phone saying, "You're looking for a card dealer? You have just found him. Take me." He got the part and then flew to Prague to film his scenes without telling his colleagues and bought himself a new car from the salary. Good for you, Danny. The car barrel roll stunt by the Aston Martin DBS broke the world record for the most barrel rolls assisted by a cannon. Originally, the racing specifications of the DBS meant that a standard ramp would not be sufficient to get the car to roll. So the special effects team were called in to install an air cannon behind the driver's seat. This allowed the car to complete 7 full rolls. The stunt was officially entered into the Guinness Book of World Records on November 5th, 2006. For Daniel Craig's now iconic scene, the Andress accident, as I call it, where he rises out of the sea in a pair of Speedos. Those weren't Speedos, by the way. Those were just trunks. If they were Speedos, they're not the standard high-sided Speedos. But apparently many of the crew had to be out of camera range in boats, keeping the paparazzi away. Craig gained 20 pounds of muscle for the role by eating mostly proteins, minimizing carbs. Nobody really cares. The opening parkour chase took several weeks to film. I wonder how many injuries occurred during that filming. Craig claimed to be in a state of pain for most of the shoot due to the many vigorous stunts he was required to perform. Dude, you're the star. Take a day off. Recover. Craig said he was shopping for groceries when he got the call from Barbara Broccoli that he had won the role. She apparently told him, "Over to you, kiddo." Apparently, Craig left the groceries behind and celebrated with martinis, which makes Daniel Craig a bit of an asshole. You just dropped your groceries? You kind of just walked away from your cart? That's a bit of a dick move, dude. Let me see. Craig became the first actor nominated for a BAFTA after playing Bond. That's bullshit. No, I'm sorry. It is. M's partner sleeping next to her. Nah, it's not important. This is the first James Bond movie to be based on a full-length Ian Fleming novel since Moonraker. Until 2019, it remains as the last James Bond movie based directly on an Ian Fleming novel. In one afternoon's shooting, 3 Aston Martin DB9s were destroyed for the car roll sequence. $300,000 automobiles, man. I think. Uh, Either way, they're absolutely gorgeous, and how dare you? Cars were old engineering prototype development mules fitted with DBS. Okay, well, I don't feel so bad about that then. They were just mules. The first day of shooting was the opening scene where Bond storms the the parkour chase scene. The scene where Bond comforts Vesper in the shower was shot in one take. Yeah, it was, because there's no cut, and it was very good. I mean, for the sake of what they did, it was very good. Oh, sorry, I don't have my browser properly set up. Let's see here. That here. And we'll do this until I go back to the other one. There we go. Okay. The producers did secure the rights to Casino Royale until 2000. Oh, okay, yeah, when Sony exchanged them for MGM's rights to Spider-Man. Craig quit smoking and had Simon Watterson. I don't know who Simon Watterson is, and I don't really care. The first action scene that was shot, Craig lost 2 front teeth while filming a fight scene in Prague, and his dentist had to fly from London to replace them. I guess if you're fancy. Must be nice. I'm okay with it. It gives me a pirate smile. Let me see. First film to show James Bond as a rookie in MI6. In all previous movies, he had long been a spy. And in this novel, too. Fleming is said to have based the character of Le Chiffre on English occultist Aleister Crowley. Yes, given the way that Le Chiffre goes out in the film, Fleming must have hated Aleister Crowley, because Le Chiffre went out kind of like a bitch. This is the first movie in the 44 years of James Bond where it rains. According to Craig, the only CGI in the movie was to erase safety wires in the stunt sequences. Pinewood burned down, or the 007 stage of Pinewood burned down a week after this was filmed. The second time this had happened, the first being before filming of View to a Kill in 85. And the filming interiors in Venice had just been finished. Much was made at this movie's release about Craig's buff body. Being in such prime condition was not new to Craig, as at one point he had been a semi-professional rugby player. I do like this anecdote. A mere 2 days after the premiere, pirated copies were already on sale in London. Craig was offered one such copy while walking anonymously through the streets of Beijing. Casino Royale was also the first Bond film shown in China, as all the previous Bond films were banned and could only be watched via pirated copies. Let me see here. There is a story of... Okay, that's kind of unimportant. Let me see. No, don't want to talk about people being... the sinking palazzo sequence took 3 weeks of filming with an average of 9 hours a day. Damn. This here is talking about the Andress thing. In one scene, Bond is supposed to be swimming at the beach when he sees Solange, the wife of the villain, played by Caterina Moreno. My God, she's gorgeous. Riding on a horse, and the two make eye contact. Craig says that while shooting the scene, he accidentally hit an awkwardly situated sandbank that forced him to stand up and walk out of the water, instead of just floating off as the script said. The image of him stepping out of the water ended up plastered all over the promotional material for this movie, with many people assuming it was a nod to Ursula Andress emerging from the beach in the first movie, Dr. No. The perceived homage to Bond's legacy likely helped win over many reluctant fans, many of whom were leery when it was announced that an unknown actor was taking over the helm of the franchise. It also helped launch Bond as a more modern, rugged 007. No, not really. It just made him a... Well, we won't go there. The scene single-handedly turned him into an international sex symbol. Sure, okay. Craig said he realized right away that the moment would draw comparisons to Andress, but he didn't think that he would, quote, be haunted by it for the rest of his life. The location used in the Bahamas as a Madagascar construction site was an abandoned hotel at Coral Harbor that was under construction 30 years ago. It was used to film hotel rooms for the James Bond movie Thunderball, and was also used for The Spy Who Loved Me, used as a camera platform with models and workshops, and is now part of a military base. The idea of the Palazzo sinking building was conceived by writers Purvis and Wade, who had seen coverage of the Leaning Tower of Pisa having its footing stabilized, while propped up by gigantic bladders full of air. They also came up with the Chief's bleeding eye. Now, unfortunately, I thought there was something more about this effect in here, but I guess not. I guess they came up with the idea for it, didn't actually do the design work, so I do apologize for that. Authorities in Venice granted producers permission to sail Bond's yacht called Spirit 54 along the Grand Canal between the Accademia and Rialto bridges. No one can remember exactly the last time a pleasure yacht sailed in the Grand Canal, but it's believed to have been several centuries. Cool. It's a shame that it was done for, well, a movie and not, some sort of important recreation. But what are you going to do? Promotional leaflet used to promote this movie in Japan headlined the, quote, 7 rules to receive 00 status. The MI6 fan site has it translated as 1. You don't fear death and won't give in to torture. 2. You have Olympic-level shooting skills. 3. Even if you would double-cross your own parents, you will never double-cross the organization. 4. You have knowledge that would surprise even a scholar and a sense of humor that would make even a bad girl grin. Must be a Japanese cultural thing. 5. You have the sociability of a lamb. Again, must be a Japanese thing. But remain a lone wolf. 6. You have the highest level of experience with alcohol, gambling, cars, and food. And 7. You can fall in love, but you can never love. Craig is the first actor to play Bond who is younger than the series itself. I'm going to assume they mean the films, not the books. According to director Martin Campbell, Henry Cavill was the only actor in serious contention for the role of Bond, but at 22 was considered too young. Maybe you should have thought a little harder. You could have, roughed him up a little bit with some makeup. Let's see. Timothy Dalton was the same age when he was approached for On Her Majesty's Secret Service in '69, but he declined because he also felt he was too young. Dalton and Cavill are the youngest actors ever considered to play Bond. Craig was producer Barbara Broccoli's first choice for the role of Bond. She had him in mind after seeing his performance in Layer Cake. Okay. Although Dame Judi Dench as M doesn't really sit with the chronology of a rebooted James Bond, director Martin Campbell was very keen to have her on board, as he really admired what she had done with the character. Yeah, I absolutely love Judi Dench as M. Yeah, that's it. Product placement was deliberately scaled back. Are you fucking sure? There's an awful lot of Sony Vaios in this movie. Following the criticism leveled at Die Another Day, which earned itself the nickname Buy Another Day. Yeah. Excuse me. First James Bond movie approved by Chinese censors. Okay. During the horse riding sequence, Katerina Marino was having leg pain and the filmmakers were thinking of using a stunt double. She insisted on doing the scene without body doubles, saying that it will be her classic Bond girl moment. No, sweetheart. You walking around in that fuchsia dress. Rolling around in that fuchsia. Yeah, that's your Bond girl moment. Seriously, if you watch nothing else, watch Katerina Marino's parts in this movie. Oh my god. When he was cast as 007, Craig had his own ideas on playing the role in an interview excuse me. And in an interview with Jonathan Ross on the set of this movie, he stated that he wanted to be faithful to the book and show the character's raw vulnerability. Okay, you can't do both, because Bond was not particularly raw and vulnerable in any scene except the torture scene. We wanted to show his raw vulnerability by having him make a few mistakes and that the drama would be there when he gets it right. And make the audience think that it's all going to go wrong and that when it all goes wrong. No, it's a Bond movie, dude. The hero wins. That's how it works in Bond movies. If it didn't, nobody would call it a Bond movie. Let me see. Fleming celebrated the creation of Casino Royale novel's first draft by purchasing a gold-plated typewriter. Holy crap, man. Fucking Fleming was a fucking baller. Former James Bond actor Pierce Brosnan reportedly bought the typewriter a few years ago for $52,000. Okay. Mild departure. Ian Fleming's gold typewriter. Let's see this thing. Holy shit. No, that's not it. No. Oh, that's not the page I want. Gold typewriter. Excuse me. Okay, let's try medium. Maybe medium has it. It didn't help him with his James Bond novels, but this writing method did. Replica of the golden typewriter. Okay, piss off you. So apparently this is a replica of it, so I guess this looks enough like it to be the same. That's alright. Gotta fix the browser again. Yeah. Fucking badass, Ian. Let's put that back where it was, which was about there. Close that again and come back to the trivia. How's my... That's not bad. Okay, let me lock that back down. There we go. Sir Sean Connery, Sir Roger Moore, Timothy Dalton, Pierce Brosnan, and George Lazenby all supported the casting of Daniel Craig as James Bond. This was the highest grossing Bond film until Skyfall surpassed it. Adjusted for inflation? Pierce Brosnan was initially asked back by the producers for this movie after the then record-breaking success of Die Another Day. However, after seeing The Bourne Identity and other contemporary spy movies raise the bar on realism and physicality in spy movies, in addition to Pierce's agent reportedly demanding $30 million plus royalties to return, the producers reconsidered hiring Brosnan, opting to cast the role instead with the younger, more virile Daniel Craig. This is the first James Bond movie since Dr. No where there were no nude dancing females during the opening title sequence. Shame. Terrible, terrible shame. And thanks for telling us they were nude. I always just assumed it was silhouettes. Let's see. Most BAFTA nominations ever received by a movie, or by a Bond movie, totaling 9. Fleming once said on writing Casino Royale, writing about 2,000 words in 3 hours every morning, Casino Royale dutifully produced itself. I wrote nothing and made no corrections until the book was finished. If I had looked back at what I had written the day before, I might have despaired. Cool. Le Chiffre is the first leading Bond villain in the Eon production series to have 2 readily apparent physical dysfunctions. He has an inhaler for breathing, character trait from the original novel, but he also has tear ducts that weep blood. Well, just the one. This bleeding of the eye is a real medical condition which is known as hemolacria. Usually manifests itself as either partially blood-tinged tears, which are part teardrop, part blood, or as full blood drops. Hemolacria can be an indicator of a tumor in the lacrimal apparatus of the eye and can be an indicator of a variety of other diseases. Look, if you're weeping blood, go to your fucking doctor. The chase around Miami. What do we got here? The Vesper that James Bond orders at Casino Royale is taken from the novel. This is just repeating itself now. Let's see. The Chief's left eye is deformed, weeps blood. His girlfriend Valenka almost always has her hairstyle to cover her left eye. She hides her eye in deference to his damaged one. Nobody cares. Roger Moore was reportedly so impressed with this movie that he went out and bought a DVD of it. Okay. Let's see. James Bond's alias in this movie was Arlington Beach. His alias for Vesper Lind was Stephanie Broadchest. Sure, okay. A typical Ian Fleming-esque name moniker, I suppose. First time that Felix Leiter returned to the James Bond film since License to Kill, the second being Quantum of Solace, and third being No Time to Die. I did enjoy the Leiter character. He was kind of underfeatured, but it's a good start. The old woman that played poker with Bond and Demetrios is Diane Hartford, who also appeared in Thunderball as the woman with whom Bond decides to dance at the Kiss Kiss Bang Bang Club. Okay. Brioni did the suits for Craig. Yep, the three-piece suit worn by Craig at the end of this movie resembles the suit worn by Connery at the end of, or in Goldfinger. The Goldfinger suit has lapels on the waistcoat and other distinct differences appropriate for the different era and Connery's height. Tarantino showed interest in adapting Casino Royale with an out-of-continuity universe that would feature Brosnan as James Bond. He claimed his treatment for the Bond movie was different, shooting the movie in black and white with no classic John Barry theme, no opening title credits, or the familiar one-liners, using voiceover narration in order to incorporate Fleming's text. I wouldn't have necessarily minded letting the man have a shot at it. The movie would have been more film noir, set firmly in the Cold War era, about which time Ian Fleming wrote. That is a common recurring theme people mention when it comes to Bond adaptations. If they want to bring Bond back, they gotta put him back in the Cold War. And given the way that the world is going right now, yeah, I don't think they're particularly concerned about offending the Russians. It's frequently reported that Eon rejected his offer. The truth is, Eon would not have been able to hire Tarantino as he refuses to join the Directors Guild, and it's doubtful the Directors Guild would be willing to grant a waiver. Tarantino would not be able to develop a project on his own, as he does not have rights to the character. That said, when does James Bond become public domain in the USA? It's already public domain in Canada, so... There's a thought, Tarantino. You could come here and make one. Good luck getting a tropical location in Canada. Let me see. There we go. 2049. Oof. Okay, whatever. In the UK, it looks like all his books go public domain 2034. American editions endure for 95 years. So Casino Royale in 2049 goes up by a year. And book by book to Octopussy in 2062. Okay, well. Quentin, you have a shot. You just got to live long enough. Let's see. When M talks to Bond about the financial loss Lashif has taken as a result of his plot in Miami being foiled, she mentions how the CIA discovered he short-sold large quantities of airline stocks after 9/11. This really was alleged to have happened in... let me finish. And when the stocks plummeted in the wake of the attacks, someone made a fortune. This really was alleged to have happened in real life, as people noted seemingly suspicious stock trading the day before. But a thorough investigation by the FBI, among others, included there was no Al-Qaeda connection. Tucker Carlson is looking into this, and so should you. Unlike previous Bond films, no, we're not going to worry about the omission of nude girls in the opening credits. Let's see. Chris Cornell's title song, You Know My Name, went to the number 79 spot on the charts, peaked at number 7 on the UK singles chart, sold 148,000 copies in the UK, and has sold 323,000 digital copies, 3.5 million streams in the US as of 2017. The song does not appear on the soundtrack. This is the first time that the title song has not been included on the soundtrack. The fuck is wrong with you? Craig is the first James Bond not to act with Desmond Llewellyn, who played Q in 17... Oh, yeah. Yeah. Rip Desmond Llewellyn. Died in 1999, so... Fleming started writing the novel on his Imperial typewriter at GoldenEye, Jamaica, around January 15th, 17th, 1952. Completed on March 18th, 1952. It took him about 3 months to write it. Cool. The camp in Uganda, where we first meet Mr. White and Lashif, was filmed just outside of London. I'll keep the particular comments to myself. This marks the second time there is a foot chase in a James Bond movie, the first being the foot chase through the parade in Thunderball. Cool. Really? Only 2 foot chases. Cool. In the opening sequence, the shape into which the club's symbol grows is called a Mandelbrot set in chaos theory and has infinite complexity. That's nice. The set interior of the Singing House in Venice measured 45 feet by 40 feet and was 45 feet high, built around the existing indoor tank of pinewood, which was increased to 20 feet so the whole set could sink 16 feet. Okay, so that was effects. That said, cool. Okay. Marks the first time since Living Daylights that a Bond movie has used an original Fleming short story or novel title. Oops. Vesper Lynd's official job was that of International Liaison Officer for the Financial Action Task Force of HM Treasury, Her Majesty's or His Majesty's. Her work address, don't care. Okay, so that's the real Treasury address. That's interesting. Although the password that James Bond entered on the alphanumeric keypad at the Casino Royale was supposed to be VESPER 837737, the password he entered was actually 836547. You missed a note by not making it 8675. Never mind. This is the first Eon Productions movie to feature the Columbia Pictures logo. Columbia Pictures produced the James Bond spoof Casino Royale in 1967. So intended to make a second adaptation of the novel before it bought MGM. Oh, that's interesting. I did see 67 Royale, but I didn't realize that wasn't a Bond movie. I may have to add that onto the list. I'm very interested about that. Design credits, sequence, don't care. Despite being second build, Eva Green does not appear until 58 minutes into the movie. Yeah. See, during the black and white sequence at the beginning, Dryden goes up in an elevator showing the floor indicator. The scene cuts before the elevator goes higher than 6 because Bond has not yet earned his 00 status, 007. It's kind of a cheesy thing to claim. The Body Worlds, not Works, exhibition in Miami was shot on a very cold night in Prague. Most viewers aren't aware that the figures in the display are actually vivisected and preserved remains, obtained legally, of course. Yeah, well, there's some argument about that. This is the first time actual human remains appeared prominently in a major motion picture. Let's see. Le chiffre is a French word which translates into English as the number. Other translations in different languages include German, die Nummer, Herr Ziffer, Mr. Numeral, and in Romanian, Ochiu Spart, broken eye. Not a bad choice. When Craig was announced as the new Bond, the press and many fans reacted by blonde Bond. Yeah. Now they're screaming for a black one. The Skyfleet S570 prototype at Miami International Airport is meant to be a take on the new Airbus A380. Figured that. Built off of an old 747-200 originally used by British Airways and had flown for European Air Charter and Air Atlanta before being retired. It was refitted with 2 mock-up engines on each inner pylon and external fuel tanks on the outer pylon, somewhat resembling a B-52 Stratofortress, which is true. It did somewhat, yeah, it did kind of put me in mind of the B-52. Let's see. The tuxedos worn by Bond at the Royale poker tournament are rumored to have cost $6,000 each. Wow. The 07 Ford Mondeo sport model used in the beginning of this movie is a special one-off hand-built prototype vehicle constructed at Ford of Europe's design studio in Cologne, Germany in January 06. And shipped to the Bahamas in secrecy for shooting. Production was not due to start until the second quarter of 2007. Q does not appear in this movie. That's true. The last time this happened was in Live and Let Die, which will be the next book I read, which was Roger Moore's debut as Bond. It is possible, however, that the unnamed MI6 technician who implants a tracking device in Bond's arm is, if not the current Q, at least someone who works in Q branch. True. Not interested. Let's see. What do we got here? Vesper's purple evening gown was made by Roberto Cavalli, and her black one was Versace. Spirit Yachts. Pierce Brosnan had expressed an interest, considered too old. Angelina Jolie, Naomi Watts, Scarlett Johansson, Sienna Miller, and Charlize Theron were strongly considered for the part of Vesper Lynd. Johansson would not have been a good choice, too young at the time. Jolie wouldn't have been a good choice because she would have overshadowed Craig. Naomi Watts. Which one is that again? Yeah, not a bad choice, I suppose. Let's see here. Oop, too far, Mr. Party. What have we done? 6 more, so that's the end of that. Oh, no. Oh, this. We are way out of place now, and I do apologize. I just saw Rupert Friend for some reason. Let's do 1 or 2 more here. First movie to use first movie since Moonraker to use a villain from the Bond novels. I thought he said derangement. Special effects tech Tony Smart worked as a stuntman on Casino Royale 1967. Wow. Let's see. The brown leather jacket worn by Daniel Craig in Miami was made by Armani and was rumored to cost $4,000 a piece. Jesus Christ, you people waste so much money. Now, this I can get behind, and I actually do agree with Quentin here. Though I have a suspicion he had an ulterior motive about shoes. But anyway, when Quentin Tarantino was in talks with Sony Pictures, he wanted Sam Jackson as Felix Leiter. We'll stake you, motherfucker. Oof. It would be interesting. It would be interesting to see Quentin Tarantino make a Bond movie. And he wanted Uma Thurman as Vesper Lynd. Interesting choice. Not a bad choice. Yeah. Let's see. Purefoy did a screen test and was a disaster. Tabloids claimed Jude Law and Heath Ledger were being considered, but the source of veracity is unknown. Eric Bana was reported once to have signed on to play Bond, but he put out a press release saying it was untrue and he had no interest. Rumors claimed that Orlando Bloom was considered to play Bond, but he laughed them off, pointed out how absurd they are. Bloom, who was 28 at the time, was too young for the role. You sure? Gulshan Grover. Who the hell is Gulshan Grover? Okay. Oh, was considered for the role of a Bond villain. And I'm not sure how to pronounce that. Aishwarya Rai Bachchan was considered for the role of Vesper. Sure, okay. Let me see here. Opening credits. I saw Blofeld. Vera Farmiga was considered for the role of Vesper Lynd, was considered too American. In an original version of the screenplay, Bond's bathroom fight with Fisher takes place at a cricket game. The game itself was cut from the film, but there are still framed pictures of cricket players on the bathroom walls. Daniel Craig and Ava Green appeared again together in The Golden Compass. I had forgotten that. Miranda Richardson turned down the role of Vesper Lynd. Let's see. Gerard Butler and Ewan McGregor turned down the role of James Bond due to fears of typecasting. That's funny. Here, we'll look at this one last. Product placements and promotional tie-ins seen in the movie include Virgin Airlines, including a Sir Richard Charles... I'm not saying his full name. It's Richard friggin' Branson. Cameo, Heineken beer, Sony phones, Sony electronics, including Blu-rays, discs, security system, MP3 player, LCDs, computers such as the Vio laptop, Ford automobiles, Mondeo, Range. I'm not 100% sure Ford actually owned Range Rover by that point, though they might have. Land Rover, Jaguar, Lincoln, Volvo, and the Aston Martin DB5 and DBS. Ford makes the Aston Martin? FedEx, Chateau Angelou, Cybershot digital cameras, those are also Sony's. M's Turnbull and Acer pajamas, Jesus Christ. Omega Seamster watches. James Bond wears a black Seamaster coaxial Planet Ocean. I wonder if that's why, no. And an Omega Seam, is it Seam? Oh, it's probably supposed to be Seamaster. Seamster kind of struck me as funny. It's a Seamaster. Smirnoff Vodka and Bollinger Champagne. M's personal assistant is named Villiers, just like Amherst Villiers, a British automotive engineer famous for getting supercharged 4.5-liter Bentley that Bond drove in the original novels, which they called the Locomotive. Also, James Villiers played Chief of Staff Bill Tanner in For Your Eyes Only. Also, I believe Villiers was also the name of a light machine gun. Britney Spears revealed in a 2004 interview that she met with the film's producers in London regarding a role in the film. That would have been different. A video podcast with shooting updates was available during production, making it the first James Bond movie to do this. Let's see here. The movie was delivered to some theaters under the codename Change at Midnight. Clive Owen was the fan favorite choice to play James Bond. However, he was never offered the role, nor was he seriously considered. That's a shame, because I think Clive Owen probably could have done a decent job, especially with a gritty one. Let's see. Craig and Mickelson later both appeared in the Star Wars film franchise. Craig was a cameo in Episode 7, and Mickelson played Galen Erso. Yep. The Float Plane, don't care. Spectre, don't care. Don't care. Oh, wait, actually, here. Adolf Gettler, the guy with the patch in one glass, is never identified by name on screen except in a deleted scene. Let's see. Fassbender auditioned. Ended up recommending Craig for the role. He said, "I don't know why I was promoting him. I should have been promoting myself. I was terrible at auditions." Fassbender. Maybe. Let's see. Olivia Wilde auditioned for Vesper. Yeah, she was in Cowboys and Aliens with Daniel Craig. Great. Good job. Let's see here. Bond's winning hand is a subtle Easter egg. The 7 represents his iconic 007 license number, while the 5 symbolizes the 5 actors who played Bond before Craig. let's see. Former football player, oh, here we are, Ivana Milicevic, appeared on the spy series Chuck. Cool. Milicevic, probably. Former football player David Ginola was shortlisted to be a player at the table during the game of poker between James Bond and Lashif. The casting agent received a call from Barbara Broccoli. There was a change of director, so Ginola was not cast. George Clooney was going to be considered for 007. I'm kind of glad he wasn't. Now, I will give you my recommendations and things now. We'll go all the way back to the top here and bring up this image. Oh, not what I wanted. Just want to open that image. Nope, just want to open the image. Okay, be that way. Can I have that image? Thank you. There we go. Okay, so let me put that in a bit of a better framing too, because that's a little close to my face. Nobody deserves to have to deal with that. There we go. Okay, so my rank and recommendation as a James Bond film, I give this a 6. I actually wrote down 7, but on reflection, 6. It's not great as a Bond film. As a general action film, it's a 7 to an 8. But as a Bond film, it's down to a 6. The adaptation isn't quite there. It's the concept of rookie Bond is good. The problem is he's too old to be a rookie. Like, you didn't want to have too young a character playing him because you wanted to play him as a bit more seasoned, a bit more gritty and dark and real. But at the same time, you didn't want to make him too experienced as a spy. It's kind of weird. Yeah, do I recommend it? Oh, fuck yeah. I absolutely recommend this film. This is a good movie. Not necessarily a James Bond movie. Not necessarily a great spy movie. As an action film, yeah, it's fucking awesome. Turn your brain off and enjoy it. I do continue to disagree with Razor Fist on one thing though. That Craig was a bad choice. I think Craig was a great choice. I think he and the directors, or the director and the writers, I think they made bad choices. That's where I'll leave that. Now, I do have some other news, and I don't want cookies, thanks. I like chocolate chip, and you guys never have them. So, when I initially set up to do this review, Amazon had just published some video or some photos that had been retouched to remove the guns. That would be these. And apparently there was a bit of a backlash from fans. Can't imagine why! And yeah, they changed their mind. So let me just alter my my browser window just a touch again. So we have a... There we go. And yeah, so after backlash from fans and media outlets branding Bond woke, I would have just gone with pussy, the offending artwork has been removed from sites and replaced with stills that are also gunless. Stupid. Amazon has dropped a set of gunless James Bond posters from its Prime Video streaming platform after protests that it was sanitizing the brand that its studio arm, Amazon MGM Studios, bought for more than $1 billion in February. The platform had issued a new set of digital poster artwork. Let's see if we can have a look at that. Yeah, no, I'm not making any changes, and yes, I am aware that my ad blocker is on. There's a reason for that. This is apparently from Joe Blow, whoever the hell that is. Amazon MGM removes all guns from Bond's digital posters. There's one with Brosnan. They took all the guns out. Why? And dear God, I've never seen a poster for On Her Majesty's Secret Service before, but I do love that suit. No, I'm kidding. Same as Moonraker. Yeah, why? Why would you take the guns out? Makes no sense. So what they've done instead, I guess these are the new ones. Yeah, terrible. All guns appeared to have been removed from already well-known images, including a portrait of Sean Connery cradling a Walther. Yeah, and that's now in the National Portrait Gallery. Widely seen teaser poster for the Craig film Spectre. Oh, they took the gun out of his hand for that one too. Stupid. Yeah, okay, we're done there. So yeah, if you're interested, I will be putting the link for this in my... oh, you can't even see that. Goddamn browser windows. Never do what I want them to. Okay, so I'll just blow this figure up, I guess. This one right here. If you go to my... that is... I'm not sure which one that is. I think it's my Ardent Party channel. Actually, it would be my Ardent Party channel. I wouldn't do this on Ardent Plays. So this is the first of my... oh my, I'll get it out in a second. It's the first of my live reads of Casino Royale. The link will be in the description. And, yeah, you know, if you want to check it out, maybe you'll enjoy my live reads. I don't know. But starting next week, I'll be starting Live and Let Die on Wednesdays. So that's the second novel in the series. So, copy that to Rumble. I'll just copy that, and I'll deal with that later. So, closing this, opening this again. So, out of, yeah, it's hard to give it more than a 6. You know, you could convince me to 6 1/4, but that's probably about it. Anyway, it's quite significantly later than I expected it to be, so I'm going to get this posted ASAP. And if you've enjoyed it, please consider doing one of the supportive things in the ticker or the description box. And other than that, I hope you're doing well. I hope you continue to do well. And as always, rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye. Hello, party people. So, you've probably just finished watching one of my videos, and I appreciate your time. That said, if you're watching on YouTube, because they've changed the way they evaluate their views, I need to ask a favor. You need to commit some form of engagement in order for me to have it count as a view, because for some reason YouTube no longer thinks watching something counts as a view. They need some form of engagement to prove you actually watched it. So like, comment, follow, share, subscribe. Any of those things would be appreciated. Other than that, if you want to support me, and this would help me with endeavors across all the platforms I do my content creation on, you can look at Ko-Fi, which is right there in the ticker right at the moment, or you can go over to my Redbubble and pick up some merchandise there. The designs that have been flashing on screen for a while are examples of the designs that I have. You can pick these up on a variety of different products, and yeah, I'll probably end up leaving them up. Though, from time to time, I will put up something that will be time limited. Some of the designs, the Walrus King especially, for example, I intend to leave up all the time because I just love that, and my Ardent Plays logo is for my other Rumble channel. Other than that, I hope you're doing well. I hope you continue to do well. And as always, rise and rise again until lambs become lions. Bye-bye.